Ice crunched underfoot, a brittle symphony in the desolate expanse. The wind howled, a mournful dirge against the metal and concrete of Outpost 7. Captain Tessa Orlov's breath hung in the air like ghostly tendrils, a stark contrast to the harsh, unforgiving environment. She'd been on this godforsaken rock for 3 years, a lifetime in the accelerated timeline of war. Every dawn, a fresh layer of frost painted the world in monochrome, a stark reminder of their isolation. Yet, the true desolation was within. A weariness, a deep-seated longing for something more than survival. Her gaze swept across the horizon. A series of radar blips flickered to life on her wristcom. Another incursion. Another day, another battle. She turned to her squad, their faces etched with the same blend of fatigue and grim determination. "Get ready, people," she said, her voice cutting through the static. "It's showtime." Behind her, Corporal Marcus Tanner, young and idealistic, adjusted his gear, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Lieutenant Commander Jackson Reed, his face a mask of calculated indifference, ran diagnostics on his weapon. They were an unlikely trio, bound together by circumstance and a shared goal, to hold the line. The first alien dropship pierced the pale sky, casting a shadow that stretched across the outpost. Tessa's hand tightened around her rifle, her heart pounding in rhythm with the approaching thunder. "Stay sharp," she barked, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. This could be the one. The dropship hovered, deploying its lethal cargo, a swarm of drones that descended upon them like a metallic blizzard. Tessa's squad scattered, finding cover amidst the jagged ice formations. The drones, shaped like predatory birds, shrieked as they locked onto their targets, lasers piercing the icy veil. Marcus took a deep breath, the cold air burning his lungs. He knew the risks. Every mission could be his last. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that there had to be more to this endless struggle than just fighting and dying. His thoughts drifted to Earth, a distant memory, and the people he'd left behind. Jackson's mind, however, remained focused on the battle ahead. His eyes flicked over the data stream, assessing the enemy's tactics. They were relentless, a never-ending tide of steel and circuitry. But he saw a pattern, something that could be exploited. As the drones closed in, the trio leaped into action. Tessa's shots were precise, each round finding its mark. Marcus moved with surprising agility, dodging and weaving through the chaos, a testament to his unyielding spirit. And Jackson, his eyes gleaming with the light of 1,000 calculations, began to formulate a new strategy, one that could change everything. The battle raged on, the roar of gunfire and explosions a stark contrast to the icy silence that had ruled the planet for millennia. Yet amidst the carnage, a spark of hope flickered to life, the beginnings of a plan that could give humanity a fighting chance. Marcus watched as the drones dropped one by one, their fiery end reflected in the gleaming ice. Each victory was bittersweet, a reminder of the lives lost to conquer this unforgiving land. He knew the war was more than just a fight for resources, it was a fight for their very essence, for the right to exist without fear of extinction. Jackson's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, I've identified a weakness in their deployment pattern. If we can take out the command ship orchestrating this assault, we might be able to buy ourselves some time." Tessa nodded, her eyes steely. "Understood, Jackson. Marcus, you're with me. We're going for the command ship. Tanner, you cover our flank." They sprinted through the maelstrom of drones, their movements a dance of death. Tessa's experience and Jackson's tactical genius had them weaving through the onslaught with surprising ease. The command ship hovered in the distance, a colossal shadow that blotted out the already dim sun. As they approached, the ship's defenses kicked into high gear. Plasma cannons roared to life, tearing through the air and ice. The ground beneath them trembled with the power of each shot. Marcus felt his resolve waver, the weight of the mission pressing down on him like a glacial tomb. But then, a voice, steady and strong, cut through the chaos. "Remember why we fight," Tessa said, her eyes never leaving the ship. "For Earth, for humanity, for a future where we're not just surviving, but thriving." Her words ignited a fire within him, banishing the doubt. Marcus tightened his grip on his rifle, his resolve rekindled. Together, they would make it through this, for each other and for the home they had sworn to protect. Jackson's eyes darted over his comm, his fingers flying across the console. I've hacked into their system. They're launching a final assault wave. We need to move now. With a nod from Tessa, they charged forward, dodging the barrage of fire, each step a declaration of their unyielding spirit. The alien command ship loomed closer, a monolith of cold, unfeeling technology. Their hearts pounding in unison, the trio reached the ship's underbelly, where a hatch lay open like a gaping maw. Marcus took a deep breath and nodded to Tessa. For humanity, he whispered. They plunged into the abyss, ready to face whatever lay within. The fate of the outpost, and perhaps the entire human race, rested on their shoulders. Yet as they disappeared into the belly of the beast, they carried with them a spark of hope that could not be extinguished by the coldest of alien worlds. The interior of the command ship was a labyrinth of gleaming metal corridors, illuminated by an eerie blue light that cast long shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and something alien, a scent that spoke of a civilization as old and unfathomable as the stars themselves. Tessa led the charge, her boots echoing through the corridors as she searched for the ship's control center. Marcus and Jackson flanked her, their weapons at the ready. The ship was eerily silent, the only sound their ragged breaths and the distant cacophony of the battle outside. Marcus felt the weight of his decision. To infiltrate enemy lines was a gamble, but it was one he was willing to take. His mind raced with the potential consequences of failure, but he pushed them aside. The only way to ensure humanity's survival was to act now. The control center was a hive of alien technology, a tangled web of lights and screens that seemed to pulse with an unearthly intelligence. Jackson's eyes lit up, his mind racing as he took in the alien systems. Here, he said, pointing to a series of consoles. This is where we can disable their drones and buy us the time we need. With a grim nod, Tessa positioned herself at the door, her rifle trained on the corridor beyond. Do it, she ordered, her voice low and urgent. Marcus watched as Jackson's fingers danced over the controls, the screens flickering with unfamiliar symbols. It was a dance of logic and intuition, a battle of human intellect against the cold precision of the alien machine. And then, as if in response to their silent prayer, the screens went dark. The drones outside ceased their assault, hovering in the air like a paused symphony. The ground beneath them stilled, the tremors of the ship's engines fading to a whisper. Tessa's eyes searched the monitors, confirming the victory. It's done, she said, a hint of awe in her voice. We did it. For a moment, they just stood there, the silence a stark contrast to the chaos they had left behind. But the reprieve was short-lived. The alarms blared to life, breaking the dead silence. We've got company, Tessa warned, as the sound of aliens grew closer. Let's not make it easy for them. The trio readied themselves for the next phase of the battle, their hearts beating in sync with the sirens. As the first alien warriors burst into the room, they knew that the true test of their resolve had only just begun. Their mission was far from over, but they had taken the first critical step. In the heart of enemy territory, they had struck a blow for humanity. The war was a long and treacherous road, but they had just illuminated a path forward, a path paved with courage and the unbreakable bonds of camaraderie. The aliens swarmed, their weapons sizzling with energy. Tessa took aim, her movements swift and precise. Marcus stood firm, his thoughts clear and focused. Jackson, his eyes still gleaming with the excitement of discovery, had a plan. Together, they fought, their hearts and wills united. This was their stand, their battle cry echoing through the cold, unforgiving void. They were the vanguard of humanity, and they would not falter. The corridor grew crimson with the light of alien blood, a stark contrast to the icy landscape outside. Each victory was a step closer to home, each fallen enemy a promise kept to those who had gone before them. But the true battle was within, a struggle to maintain their humanity in the face of such inhuman adversity. As they pushed deeper into the ship, each encounter peeled back layers of doubt and fear, revealing the steel beneath. They had become more than soldiers. They were the embodiment of hope, the living, breathing proof that the human spirit could not be broken, even on the edge of oblivion. And as they emerged from the command ship, the drones lay scattered across the ice like a metallic graveyard, their silent forms a grim testament to the power of the trio's unity and the indomitable spirit of humanity. The sky above them cleared, the dropships retreating in a disorganized, chaotic pattern, a sign that their plan had worked. For a moment, the outpost stood still, the only sounds the fading echoes of battle. Then, a cheer rose from the survivors, a cacophony of relief and hope that resonated through the frozen wasteland. The enemy had been driven back, if only temporarily. But the victory was bittersweet. The cost had been high, the price paid in the lives of their comrades. Tessa's eyes searched the horizon, her thoughts heavy with the weight of command. "We can't rest yet," she said, her voice carrying the gravity of their situation. "We need to fortify our defenses and prepare for the next wave." Marcus and Jackson nodded, their expressions mirroring her solemn determination. They had bought themselves time, but the war was far from over. The aliens would regroup, adapt, and return with greater ferocity. In the aftermath, the three of them stood in the command center, maps and screens displaying the ever-shifting tides of war. They spoke in hushed tones, the weight of their decisions hanging heavy in the air. "The intel we've gathered," Jackson began, his voice a mix of excitement and trepidation, "suggests that the aliens are searching for something specific, something only found in our most secure facilities." Tessa's gaze sharpened. What could it be? "A weapon," Jackson said, his eyes meeting hers. "One that could change the course of the war." Marcus shifted, his mind racing. "We can't let them find it," he said, his voice firm. "We need to protect it at all costs." The room grew quiet as the implications of Jackson's words sank in. The stakes had just been raised. The fate of humanity rested on their ability to safeguard the weapon and prevent the enemy from exploiting its power. Tessa nodded slowly, her mind racing with tactics and contingency plans. "We need to fortify the base, prepare for an all-out assault. And we need to find that weapon before they do." Their conversation was interrupted by a frantic message from the outpost perimeter. The aliens had returned, their forces replenished and their hunger for victory unabated. The trio looked at each other, a silent understanding passing between them. They had been given a glimmer of hope, a chance to change the course of the war. But the battle was far from over. The enemy was relentless, and the price of victory would be paid in blood and sacrifice. With renewed determination, they set to work, their every action fueled by the knowledge that the future of their people hung in the balance. This moment had become their crucible, forging them into the heroes they were destined to be. And as they faced the encroaching darkness, they stood as one, their hearts beating in time with the rhythm of war, their spirits unbroken by the chilling embrace of the void. For in the coldest of places, the fire of humanity burned brightest, a beacon that would not be extinguished. The days grew shorter, the nights longer, and with each passing hour, the alien forces grew bolder. The outpost was a bastion of human resistance, a flicker of light in the endless cold. Yet, the weight of the impending battle was palpable, a heavy cloak that suffocated all but the most fervent hope. Marcus found himself wandering the corridors at night, his thoughts consumed by the whispers of doubt that plagued his mind. The faces of those they had lost haunted his dreams, a chorus of unspoken regrets that clung to him like shadows. But amidst the darkness, he found solace in the quiet strength of his comrades, their unwavering resolve a testament to the human spirit. Jackson, lost in his work, had become a specter of innovation, his eyes rarely leaving the screens and schematics that littered his workspace. His mind worked tirelessly, searching for the key that would unlock the secrets of the alien technology. His dreams were of circuits and algorithms, a dance of logic that could tip the scales in their favor. Tessa, ever the stoic leader, bore the weight of their burden upon her shoulders. Her eyes reflected the pain of the countless lives she had sent into the jaws of war, yet her resolve never faltered. She knew that victory would not come without sacrifice, and she was willing to make the ultimate offering if it meant the survival of her people. As the alien armada grew on the horizon, a sense of finality settled upon the outpost. The air was thick with anticipation, the very fabric of reality straining under the pressure of the impending confrontation. The time for stealth and subterfuge had passed. It was now a war of attrition, a battle of wills between two species whose destinies were forever intertwined. The trio gathered in the command center, the map of the planet a canvas of strategy and sacrifice. The aliens had made their intentions clear. Their path led directly to the heart of the human stronghold. And it was there that the fate of the galaxy would be decided. We can't hold them off forever, Tessa said, her voice a mix of steel and sorrow. We need to strike at the core of their operations, to cut off the head of the snake before it can devour us whole. Jackson nodded, his gaze intense. We must find their weakness, exploit it, and strike with all the fury we possess. Marcus looked from one to the other, his heart swelling with pride and fear. We'll need a diversion, he said, his voice steady. A way to draw their forces away from the base while we infiltrate their main facility. The room grew quiet as the gravity of his words sank in. The plan was fraught with danger, a gamble that could cost them everything. Yet, it was the only path that offered a glimmer of hope. With a heavy heart, Tessa turned to her squad. We'll need volunteers for a suicide mission, she said, her eyes searching for those willing to give their all. Who will stand with me? One by one, the soldiers raised their hands, their faces a mix of fear and determination. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew that in the face of extinction, there was no such thing as a lost cause. The battle for the ice planet had only just begun, and the true test of their mettle was yet to come. As the alien forces drew near, the flame of humanity burned brighter, a beacon of defiance that would not be extinguished. The fate of the galaxy rested in their hands, and they were ready to fight to the last breath. The trio stood at the forefront, their weapons at the ready, their hearts bound by the unspoken promise to stand together until the end. For in the icy embrace of the cosmos, they had found not just a war to be won, but a purpose to be lived. The final act was upon them, a symphony of fire and steel that would echo through the annals of history. And as they stepped into the abyss, they carried with them the hopes and dreams of those who had come before, and those who would follow. For they were not just soldiers. They were the guardians of the human spirit, the embodiment of a will that could not be broken, even in the face of certain doom. The plan was simple yet audacious, a feint to draw the enemy's attention, a strike to their very core. They would split into two teams, one to create havoc and distraction, the other to infiltrate the alien facility and secure the weapon that could turn the tide of war. Tessa's team would lead the assault, drawing the enemy into a trap laid out with precision by Jackson's tactical mind. Marcus's team would slip through the chaos, unnoticed and unyielding, until they reached the heart of the alien base. The night before the battle, Marcus found himself unable to sleep. The faces of the fallen haunted his thoughts, a reminder of the weight of his decision. He rose from his bunk and made his way to the outpost's observation deck, the icy winds biting at his exposed skin. The planet's stark beauty was a stark contrast to the ugliness of war. He leaned against the cold glass, staring out into the abyss, contemplating the price of freedom. It was there that he saw it, a shooting star, a fleeting spark of light in the vast, dark sky. A message from home, a promise of a future worth fighting for. The dawn of the final battle was a canvas of fiery oranges and deep purples, a prelude to the carnage that was to come. The alien fleet loomed, a shadow that threatened to swallow the outpost whole. Yet, in the face of such overwhelming odds, the humans stood firm, their resolve unshaken. The first shots rang out, a clarion call to war that echoed across the planet. Tessa's team moved with a fluidity born of desperation and training, their every step a silent declaration of war. Marcus watched them go, his heart in his throat, knowing that he might never see them again. And then it was time. With a nod to his comrades, Marcus led his team into the fray. The alien forces were everywhere, a tide of death and destruction that seemed unstoppable. Yet, they pushed on, driven by the hope that burned within them, the knowledge that they were fighting for something greater than themselves. The base grew closer, its alien architecture a stark contrast to the familiar steel and ice of their home. Their hearts pounded in their chests, each beat a countdown to destiny. They moved like ghosts, slipping through the enemy lines, unseen and unheard. The facility was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, each one a potential tomb. They navigated with the precision of a surgical strike, their every step measured and deliberate. And then, they found it, the chamber that held the weapon that could change the course of the war. The room was a mess of alien machinery, the weapon itself a monolith of power that hummed with a malevolent energy. Marcus could feel the weight of its potential, the promise of salvation and destruction. It was a burden too great for any one person to bear. But they were not alone. As they approached the weapon, the aliens had anticipated their move. A squadron of elite warriors, bred for this very moment, lay in wait. The air grew thick with tension, the anticipation of a battle that would determine the fate of worlds. Marcus took a deep breath, his grip tightening on his rifle. For Earth, he whispered, his voice a prayer. And with that, the final act began. The clang of metal on metal, the screams of the dying, the roar of combat that seemed to shake the very foundations of the planet. In the heart of the alien bastion, humanity made its stand, their spirits unbroken by the cold embrace of the void. The battle was fierce, a dance of death that left no room for error. Yet, they pushed on, their hearts and wills as unyielding as the ice beneath their boots. The aliens fell, one by one, until only a handful remained. It was then that Marcus saw it, a flaw in the defense design, a weakness that spoke of its alien creator's arrogance. A single shot, placed just right, could bring the whole edifice crashing down. He took aim, his breath shallow, his eyes unwavering. The moment stretched out, a single beat of time that contained the fate of all they held dear. The shot rang out, a solitary note in the symphony of war, and the weapon's defenses shuddered, its power winking out. The chamber fell silent, the aliens stunned by the sudden loss of their ultimate weapon. Marcus's team moved swiftly, securing the area, their hearts racing with a mix of triumph and dread. They had done the impossible, but the war was not over. The alien fleet still loomed, and their victory was but a temporary reprieve. On the outskirts of the outpost, Tessa's team fought a desperate battle. Their diversion had drawn the bulk of the enemy forces, but the cost had been high. The ice was stained with the crimson of human blood, a stark reminder of the lives sacrificed for the cause. The comm crackled to life. Marcus, Tessa's voice was strained. We need that weapon now. The enemy is breaking through. Marcus nodded, though she couldn't see him. We're on our way, he said, his voice calm and steady. Hold the line. They sprinted through the alien base, the cold air a sharp contrast to the heat of battle. The path was clear now, the aliens in disarray. The weapon was theirs, but the true test was yet to come. As they emerged into the daylight, the scale of the battle unfolded before them. The outpost was a bastion of humanity in a sea of alien aggression. Tessa's forces were holding, but just barely. Marcus and Jackson looked at each other, their eyes reflecting the gravity of the moment. We have to end this, Jackson said, his voice low. Tessa's gaze met Marcus's, and in that silent exchange, they understood what had to be done. They had to take the weapon to the enemy's fleet, to show them the price of underestimating humanity's resolve. They moved with the speed of the wind, the weight of their decision propelling them forward. The enemy ships grew closer, their cannons charging. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the final confrontation approached. The trio stood at the edge of the outpost, the weapon between them, a symbol of hope amidst the chaos. They had come so far, endured so much, and now it all came down to this. The alien flagship loomed, a colossal beast of metal and malice. Tessa's voice crackled over the calm. Ready the weapon, she said, her tone a mix of grief and determination. Marcus and Jackson set to work, their hands moving with the precision of a well-oiled machine. The weapon hummed to life, its power resonating through the very air. The enemy fleet grew larger, their intent clear. They had to act now, before it was too late. With a final nod, Tessa gave the order. Fire! The weapon roared, a beam of pure energy slicing through the sky. It struck the flagship, the impact sending a shockwave that rippled through the very fabric of the planet. The ship exploded in a brilliant burst of light, a supernova that cast long shadows across the battlefield. The alien forces wavered, their morale shattered by the loss of their leader. The tide of battle turned, the human forces pushing forward with renewed vigor. The enemy retreated, their ships breaking formation, their once mighty fleet now a disorganized mess. The outpost erupted in cheers, the sound a cathartic release of tension and fear. They had won a victory, a brief respite in the endless struggle. But the war was far from over. The aliens would return, their hunger for conquest undiminished. Yet, in that moment, as the light of the explosion faded, the trio knew that they had bought humanity a chance. A chance to regroup, to rebuild, to find a way to end the war on their own terms. And as they stood together, Their hearts bound by the bonds of friendship and duty, they vowed to fight on, to be the beacon that guided their people to victory. For they were not just soldiers, they were the vanguard of humanity, the living embodiment of hope in the face of despair. And in the icy embrace of the void, their fire burned brighter than ever. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing to stay updated with our latest stories, give us a like if you want to see more, and drop a comment below to let us know your thoughts.